Hi, welcome to this second look at the Christmas 2024 weather prospects. And for this update, I've dug out one of my favourite jumpers. Good old Rudolph. But it's very important to remember that at the time of filming, there are still 27 sleeps until the big day. In weather terms, that is an awfully long time. Nonetheless, if you want to keep up to date with developments, then here's the URL to the TheWeatherOutlook.com Christmas weather forecast page. Okay, before I look at the analogues and computer model data, just a reminder of what a white Christmas is. The Met Office defines it as one snowflake observed falling within the 24 hours of December 25th, somewhere in the UK. So there is no need for snow to be on the ground. Hence, this may not be technically a white Christmas. The skies are blue and the snow looks like it's been there for several days. On the other hand, this one may well do the trick, because if you look closely at the precipitation, there are one or two flakes of snow mixed in. I suspect that if you were sitting there eating your turkey, looking out a window at this, you would say, oh, fabulous, it's white Christmas, whilst this, you'd think, it looks pretty grim, wet, dull and miserable out there. Definitely not a white Christmas, but you would be wrong. And to illustrate, a couple of examples I think show it quite well. 1938, possibly the best snowy Christmas of the 20th century. Snow fell daily between the 18th and the 26th. Now that implies that a few locations at least saw falling snow on Christmas Day. Hence, they did have a white Christmas, but many places didn't. But there was a lot of snow cover. More than half of the country had snow on the ground, and it was deep, crisp and even, 30 to 60 centimetres. Allegedly, there was even skiing taking place in the Chilterns. Now, of course, that is where I live, but even I'm not old enough to validate whether or not it was the case. What I can do is show a reanalysis of the period. You can see it's a fairly classic wintry pattern, high pressure to the east, the northeast. The blue and purple shading there moving across continental Europe into the UK indicates very cold air aloft. The Atlantic is blocked off. We've got the weather coming in from the east. In contrast, perhaps the most bizarre white Christmas was 1999. Here the weather very much is coming in from the west. Areas of low pressure just centred close to Scotland, towards Iceland. It's a changeable and showery theme. But if you look closely, there's a small pool of relatively cold air aloft. It's nothing special at all. But it was enough to produce a few flakes of snow in some of the showers which crossed over London. Hence, it was technically a white Christmas. There's the famous quote here from the William Hill spokesman. Earlier this week, forecasters told me snow is about as likely as aliens landing on the Millennium Dome. That is the last time I listened to them. Very good advice, perhaps. Well, let's have a look at Christmas 2024, and I'll start with the analogues. These are generated by comparing the weather patterns across the Northern Hemisphere during the previous 30 days with the same period in every year going back to 1948. And I'm going to run through the top 5 matches, starting with number 5. It is 1984. This appeared in the first update. A cold or very cold winter, but nothing special on Christmas Day. I think the snow mostly came in January and perhaps February, if I recall correctly. Number 4, 2015. Much more recent. Cold air moving down into Scotland there from the north, and there's a ridge of high pressure building in from the west. Apparently 10% of weather stations recorded snow falling, so technically a white Christmas, but none reported any snow lying on the ground. I don't remember the weather at all on Christmas Day 2015, but there we have it. Okay, on to number 3. It's 1983. Look at this, very, very warm air aloft to the south of the UK, even to the east, but there was a westerly flow covering our shores. Again, nothing special, probably fairly close to average. Number 2, 1988, a very, very famous winter indeed. Of course, if it's cold and snowy weather that you like, it was famous for all the wrong reasons. This is the central England temperature for the meteorological winter, 6.47 degrees. That's a huge 2.4 degrees above the 1961-90 average. A notably mild winter, and Christmas Day didn't buck the trend. You can see a southwesterly flow moving up across all areas. Okay, what is number one this week? Here we go. It is 2003. A westerly flow moving across the UK into continental Europe, so not cold anywhere. And the winter as a whole, well, there's a central England temperature, 5.07. That is 1 degree above the 1961-90 norm. So significantly colder than the previous one that I've just been discussing, but that would not be difficult. Okay, so the analogues do not look particularly hopeful. What about the ensemble data? So I'm going to use charts from the GEFS and ECM models. GEFS up first. This shows upper air temperatures across the London area. I've blocked out the period before Christmas, so it's the right hand side of the chart which needs looking at. You can see the purple line is close to a black line. That's the ensemble mean and the 30-year average. In other words, nothing out of the ordinary is showing up aloft, and that really is reflected down at the ground level. These are the 2 metre temperatures, so the ones we experience. There is perhaps a slightly positive anomaly here, so temperatures more likely to be a little bit above the average and below it. And of course, in the London area, that means there is 0 chance of snow. If it's correct, we need temperatures to be several degrees below the norm. Up to Glasgow, a little bit more hopeful. The upper air temperature profile here, the ensemble mean is several degrees below the 30-year average around the Christmas period. Not too bad, I guess. What about the 2 metre temperatures? Well, there is a slight negative anomaly here as well. And of course, as you head northwards, that negative anomaly does not have to be so great as it does in the south. This, taken at face value, does not look too bad. I'm not suggesting by any means that a white Christmas would be likely in the northwest of UK were it to be correct, but there would at least be a chance. The ECM chart, so the European ensemble, sorry, this is the GEFS anomaly chart. I'll come on to the ECM in a moment. For the week beginning the 18th of December, so it's averaging out 850 HPA temperatures over the period as a whole. There is a slight negative anomaly there in the northwest, which fits in with what I've just been saying. Nonetheless, it's fairly close to the average everywhere. The pressure anomaly charts for the week, perhaps slightly negative to the northwest, slightly positive to the east and to the southeast. That would tend to imply high pressures going to be centered over continental Europe, probably to the south, with more of an Atlantic flow into the northwest, maybe a dip there allowing some colder air to move down into those areas. All in all, though, this does not look favourable, at least not in the southern half of the UK. Here are the ECM charts. 2 metre temperatures. The pink shading indicates a positive anomaly across the entire week. It's actually increased since my previous update, I think. Last time we just had this light pink. This time we've got some of the darker pink, which is a stronger positive anomaly. So not good news. The pressure anomaly chart from the ECM indicates a westerly flow really across the UK. An Atlantic-based pattern is probably more correct. Once more, not favouring a wintry spell of weather. Snow would only really be likely over the mountains of Scotland. So, to summarise all of that, it remains far too early to make a forecast, but since the first update there haven't been any significant changes. The analogues remain not favourable, and the computer model data suggests there's a low chance of snow anywhere away from the Scottish mountains, but particularly low in southern and central parts of the United Kingdom. Okay, I have to finish by awarding a white Christmas favourability score. I'm doing that on all of the updates this year. So what have I gone for? Here we are. It is 2 out of 5. I have to be honest and say I was tempted to go for 1, but I didn't want to seem like a complete Christmas Grinch. And of course, as I've been emphasising, it's still a long time until the big day. Therefore, the prospects could change and change again. Anyway, I will be producing several more Christmas specials before December 25th. The best way of not missing them is by subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Also, I'd be very grateful if you would consider hitting the like button below. Thanks very much now. Bye.